Hey everyone, how's it going? Um, I am doing pretty well. You can't tell my voice is a little hoarse right now because I was I was karaokeing last night and it was belting out some Keshia Cole, her song "Love," which my old roommate and now neighbor Kevin showed me. So shout outs to Kevin for showing me a banger of a song. But yeah, that's my voice sounds like this because of that. I wonder if y'all ever have those songs that you just like hear at karaoke and you just feel like you need to belt. That's me. I am a big belter of songs. I am not a singer of songs, only a belter. Very clear distinction. But I'm excited to share with y'all today um, this dish that I've been working on for a few years. I was really actually first inspired by this dish when I had um, the original, I guess, influence of this dish or inspiration of this dish, which was a Filipino dish called Laing, which is basically dried taro leaves that's been cooked and stewed in coconut milk and shrimp paste. Guangang. That's this one. I use this kind of shrimp paste. Um, this brand here. I think this one's very delicious. And then when I first had it, I've never had a dish like that before in Filipino cuisine, and it was incredibly delicious. It was super creamy, very savory, but also very like, kind of sweet. The leaves were still toothsome, but also very soft. I think texturally, it had the creaminess of a cream spinach, but I always thought the greens themselves had a lot more bite to them, much like collard greens. And as I was doing some research for Feast of Resistance, our event for this month, where we're covering Asian American history by way of food, so creating different dishes in order to tell and capture these kind of untold or forgotten stories of American history, of specifically of Asian American history, um, and kind of presenting it to y'all and telling this story as we cook the foods. But anyways, there's this incredible story of a man named David Fagen. David Fagen was a black soldier who served in the U.S. Army in the 24th Infantry, I believe. He was what we considered, or what they considered, Buffalo Soldiers, which are basically just like black soldiers that served in the U.S. Army. They were considered um, highly skilled in combat, and like a great soldier overall. So David Fagan, he, like I said, he was a black soldier who ended up essentially when he was fighting in the Philippine American War. Um, he found a lot of similarities between himself and his experiences as a black man in America with the Filipinos out there, with the Filipinos out there in the Philippines. Um, he what he saw was that there were these white imperialist, this like white imperialist nation going to this island nation, full of like kind of POC people who are just trying to make their way, right? Make ways in their own country and fight for their land, fight for their freedom. And David Fagan, the smart man that he is, he understood that, he was really, he felt like he was fighting for the wrong side. And so he defected to the Filipino side away from the U.S. Army in order to join them and fight for justice and fight for anti-imperialism and anti-racism. He's kind of talked about in the States as this traitor, as this turncoat, um, as someone who was denigrated to kind of this like status of an outlaw. And today we're kind of commemorating his memory and his life and his servitude to both America and to the American people, as well as to the Filipino people, in his fight for justice. So the dish that we have today is collard greens that are being cooked in the style of Laing. So we're gonna cook the collard greens in coconut milk and shrimp paste. Collard greens are one of my favorite vegetables. As you all may know, collard greens are very important to the are very important to Southern cooking, right, and to Black cooking in general. Um, it dates back to the enslavement era, and is one of the staple foods for Black communities. So we have collard greens here. You get them in these like big bunches, these large leaves and really tough stems. How you handle them is just you can rip off the leaves um, along the stems and then just discard the stems. You can also cut around them if you want. I like ripping them. It's a lot more fun. But we're gonna take these collard greens. We're gonna chop them up pretty roughly. So I have this big bunch here. I'm just gonna kind of roll it up into a bundle and just chop it roughly. So we have like bite size, or we have bite-sized pieces or pieces that we can eat pretty easily when cooked down. The cool thing about this dish is that I think it really eats like Laing, and oftentimes you'll see substitutes for dried taro leaves as like kale. A lot of people use kale, but I don't understand why they don't explore using collard greens at all. The texture to me is far superior than cooked kale, and not only that, it is, it's I think it's kind of funny because you think about like who really eats kale in this country, like how did kale get really popular versus who eats collard greens in this country, and it's just kind of funny thinking about that, right? Thinking about those instances and like why we kind of make decisions that we do, either consciously or subconsciously. And just something I think about, something I think about, and I kind of take note to. So, in the original dish, Laing, I learned how to make from this really sweet tita of mine. My dear friend Jackie Rubio, her aunt had taught me how to make Laing. It was actually at their restaurant that I had first had the dish. And again, it's taro leaves that have been cooked in coconut milk and sometimes coconut cream with garlic, ginger, sometimes onions, chili pepper. That's about it. And what they'll do is that they'll basically just cook. They'll basically just cook coconut milk and stew it up with shrimp paste, and then just drop in the dried taro leaves in the coconut milk. And then you don't need any oil, or you don't need any like additional seasonings even really, because most of the flavor comes from the shrimp paste. We're going to do a little bit different of a variation because we're using collard greens, so we will kind of cook the collard greens a little bit in oil with some aromatics. I have ginger and onion here. I had unfortunately run out of garlic and chili peppers, so I will not be including them, but I highly recommend that you do if you are making this dish. But I want to talk a little bit more about David Fagen as a person. So David Fagen grew up in Tampa, Florida, and the Philippine War happened in like 1899, I believe. I want to just refer to my notes just so I'm telling you all the accurate information. 1899 was the Philippine-American War, and David Fagen was born in 1878. He was the son of enslaved parents, enslaved Black humans, and he grew up in, like I said, in Tampa, which at the time was a developing Black neighborhood. And what that means is that basically it was like the ghetto, right? The ghetto of America, where white land developers were coming in and saw opportunity there, and also saw cheap labor in the form of Black humans, right? Black bodies. So I'm just giving this a rinse because they are a little sandy sometimes. But anyways, yeah. So David Fagen grew up in Tampa at the time when this kind of city was developing. It was called, I believe, the Scrub. That was the name of the town that he grew up in. And so, what David Fagen was doing as he was growing up was he actually participated in many labor protests to fight for equal rights for laborers, for his brothers in arms, for all of his black brothers in the neighborhood who were getting paid about like $1 a day for their work, for their hard work. David Fagen, when he was 20, he worked at a phosphate company in Tampa, where he would basically just sledgehammer away phosphate in the swamps. He'd be knee deep or ankle deep in the swamps and just going at it with a sledgehammer, breaking away the phosphate over there. And like I said, he got paid $1 an hour for his work. And as did all other black laborers, unless you were a black criminal, in which your payment was about 2 bowls of beans a day, which is ridiculous to think, right? Not only is it ridiculous to think because like that's like it's like horrible living conditions, right? Horrible working conditions, regardless of if you're a criminal. But it's also crazy to think because like we haven't really progressed that far as a society still today, right? And that's why some of these stories are really important. We still today are kind of profiting off of the labor, the almost free labor of people who have been incarcerated, right? Largely black people, right? And so, when we look at people like David Fagen, we see all the similarities all the things that still exist in today's society that have gone gone without any change or without much change, I should say. So David Fagen grew up protesting for labor rights and then worked at a phosphate company. Later on in his life, he saw that other Buffalo soldiers were kind of congregating in Tampa, doing their trainings there, and he saw that their livelihood was much better than what he had going on. And so he decided to join the army. He decided to join the army at the age of 23, I believe. And so he joined the 24th Infantry as a Buffalo soldier and was originally sent to Cuba at first to fight against the Spanish, just like in the Philippines. To fight against the Spanish there and for Cuba, right? And so he spent a year, or after some time in Cuba, he within that same year that he returned from Cuba, he was sent off to the Philippines to fight for. America again and against the Spanish, and to claim the Philippines for America after the Spanish had left. Basically, the story goes is that he was told that that they were fighting a tyrant, a war tyrant, in the Philippines, and that they were fighting for the freedom of the Filipino people, right? As many times that story goes. But when he got there, he quickly realized that, that wasn't really the case, and what he saw was, again, these like white leaders of a white nation coming into a downtrodden society, a third world country, if you would, and trying to just like imperialize the people, right? Like just try to conquer the world as white Americans do, or did, I guess, back in the day. Kind of still do sometimes. So I just quickly mince some ginger. I would do the same with garlic if I had garlic, and then for the onion, I'm gonna do. I think I'll do I don't know if I want to do. I'm gonna do slices. Do slices of onions, thinly sliced. So, like I said, he quickly kind of realized that he was swimming from the wrong side, right? And he felt a lot of empathy um, towards these Filipino workers, these the Filipino people, because he saw the black struggle that he faced growing up um, in them, and he was like, "This is, I'm fighting for my country, but against like people who are more like me than my white counterparts here, than my commanding officers." I'm gonna cut another onion. And so, David Fagen had this like really like the courage to stand up for what he believed in. Um, at the time, the Buffalo Soldiers, while they were so kind of celebrated in a way for being great warriors, great soldiers, right? Um, they were all led under white generals or white lieutenants or white commanders, um, because the the thought was that black people can't lead. They don't have leadership ability. They cannot command a troop. And so that role, those roles, and the commanding and the leadership roles were all given to white commanders. So David Fagen, he defected to the Filipino side, and it was not only him that defected to the Filipino side. I believe 12 other soldiers also defected, um, and it was a big scare for for Americans, right? They thought that, oh my God, all black soldiers are going to defect to their side, right? We have to stop this. How do we stop this? Um, I'm gonna go ahead and start my pan here, my wok. I'm just gonna heat it up and throw in some oil. Let me turn my camera off so you can see what I'm doing. Right. So I'm just going to get my oil hot, and then we'll toast up those aromatics, and then we'll throw in our collard greens. This is one of those dishes that like goes really well, or it eats really well the day after, and so it's great for leftovers. It's great for making a big batch of. Some people even like Laing only the day after. So they'll make a big pot and just save most of it for the day after. It's really funny. Anyways, David Fagen, so he went to the Filipino side and basically rose within the ranks there. He was so well received by the Filipino troops that they started calling him general, even though he wasn't a general. I think he made it to lieutenant, um, and he proved like really beneficial for them. Yeah. Veggie recipes are really hard. This one's not technically fully vegetarian because we are using shrimp paste, but I mean it's delicious. It's pescatarian friendly for sure. I don't have an alternative for this. You won't get the exact same flavor as you would if you don't use shrimp paste. You can try to use something like a miso, like a doenjang. Actually, I would actually use a Korean doenjang instead of a miso because it's a little funkier, just like shrimp paste is really funky. Uh, and yeah, more recipes with vegetables is always a good thing. Alright, so my pan is pretty hot. I'm gonna throw in my onions and my ginger. So David Fagen proved really like valuable for the Filipino troops, in like several different battles that they've had. And although the Philippines did not win the war, you know, David Fagen really caused a lot of strife for um, his like the white captains and like lieutenants that he was serving under before. They all really wanted to hunt him down and turn the traitor in. But thankfully, or I guess thankfully, he even after the Philippines had surrendered, or were forced to surrender, I suppose, um, they did not turn over David Fagen. They refused to turn over David Fagen, and David Fagen went in hiding, to which the Americans had put out a $600 bounty for him, dead or alive. And there have been some records of a I don't even think he's like a bounty hunter. I think he was just like a dude, um, finding David Fagan and presenting his head to the American soldiers. But within the American records, there's no bill of that man receiving $600 at all. And the I think the official stance on it was that this dude came in and gave the head of someone who was supposedly David Fagan, but never confirmed. And there had been sightings of David Fagan, rumored sightings of David Fagan after this, and it was thought that the Filipinos were trying to protect their own, someone who basically became their own kin. Um, this is just something here. I'm using rapeseed oil. You can use any kind of oil you want. I think rapeseed oil is delicious. If you never had rapeseed oil, you don't know what rapeseed oil is. Rapeseed oil is basically it's basically made out of the same plant as canola oil is, and but processed differently. So this is like a roasted rapeseed oil, which is very important to Sichuan cooking. You can find it now because it's legally now imported into the United States at a lot of Chinese grocery stores now. So I'm going to fry up my shrimp paste in here too. Shrimp paste is much like fish sauce, in which you don't need a lot to make it flavorful, right? It's really supposed to be a flavor enhancer. If you use too much, then the flavor is going to be really, really off and super funky and very, very strong, which we don't want here. We don't want this to be kind of this background note. But we are going to toast it, kind of activate the aromas a little bit more. Alright, and then we'll add in our collard greens, a handful at a time. And it's hopefully just big enough. Alright. And then a little bit of salt. You don't need too much because the shrimp paste is also a little salty. So just a little bit of salt just to help it wilt down. A couple pinches because this is a lot of collard greens. And then I will add a bit of sugar. Sugar is going to help balance out the shrimp paste as well as the bitterness of the collard greens. So I add a little bit of sugar in here just to help sweeten it up. It also works really well with the coconut milk. And then we're going to let this cook for just a tiny bit, just until it gets a little bit more wilted, and then we can add in the coconut milk. So sometimes in this dish they'll also add coconut cream. You can totally add coconut cream as well. Coconut cream is just basically a thicker version of coconut milk. And it's great for, I try to have, if I can find it, I try to have cans of both coconut milk and coconut cream. Because I do like using a combination in certain dishes, especially if I want it like very, very thick. So I like coconut cream in like really thick Thai curries, but I'll use just coconut milk in things that are like desserts or stuff. Excuse me. Mm. So I wanted to read while this is cooking because collard greens do take a little bit of a while to cook. I want to read a quick quote from one of the other officers that I found really powerful. So pull it back up. This is our recipe that we're writing, but I wanted to talk about a soldier by the name of shoot, I forget his name now. He was one of the Buffalo soldiers as well. He was I believe leading the 24th Infantry. Um, but he had a great quote in here that I can find again. But there are a lot of great quotes in this link as well. I can link this link in chat. This is a really cool story, like I said, just about like Black and Filipino solidarity, which is not often talked about. Like this quote right here. These are all full of really powerful quotes, but let's read this one out loud. Why does the American Negro come to fight us when we are much a friend to him and have not done anything to him? He is all the same as me, and me all the same as you. Why don't you fight those people in America who burn Negroes, that make a beast of you? This is from a Filipino, um, person, native, addressing, I guess, the war, right? Thinking about the war and why it is that these people are fighting them. Um, let's see. So many great quotes here. Trying to scrum through them all. Here, Sergeant Patrick Mason. Sergeant Patrick Mason of the 24th Infantry. He writes in a letter. He writes in a letter home. He says, "I feel sorry for these people and all they have come under the control of the United States. All that have come under the control of the United States. I don't believe they will be justly dealt with. The first thing in the morning is the N word, and the last thing at night is the N word. You have no idea the way these people are treated by Americans here." It's kind of, this is talking about, this is the sergeant of the 24th Infantry, the Buffalo Soldiers, the same infantry that David Fagen was a part of. And he's talking about how he's having these hesitancies fighting the Filipinos. So the collard greens gave off their water, or their liquid. People will call that pot liquor. In the South, we call this pot liquor, and it's delicious. Sometimes they'll cook collard greens in this, with like ham hocks, in a big Dutch oven, or like cast iron pot, or just like in a big pot, right? And just cook it down forever, with a bunch of ham hocks, some aromatics, all good stuff, and it's absolutely delicious. I love collard greens. So now we're gonna add coconut milk, a good amount, because we want this to kind of reduce down and get thicker. We're gonna just add this whole can. Rinse it out, get a little more. Make sure we get everything. There we go. My grandma didn't raise no food waster. All right. Okay, so we're just gonna give this a stir, give it a taste in a second when it comes up to temperature, and then readjust seasoning from there. And then this will stew for a bit. And then, because I don't have fresh chilies, I would normally add fresh chilies with the aromatics as well as garlic. Because I don't have fresh chilies, I'm gonna top this with a little bit of gochugaru, Korean red pepper flakes. We'll let this come up to a boil again, and then reduce down. But I wanted to kind of come back to these ingredients or these quotes. There's another one that's really crazy. I think that it's from Sergeant Major Galloway, because he who apparently was disciplined for suspected collaboration with the Filipinos. He says, "The future of the Filipino, I fear, is that of the Negro in the South." Right, and just showing all these similarities between the two groups. Um, it really is crazy to just think and the the showing of so much empathy, right, of these different POC groups who are oceans apart, right? Like they're literally an ocean apart from each other. Black people likely have not met many Filipinos before, and for them to have such a connection with Filipinos is something to note, right? And something to really talk about. Um, that black people are willing to fight for what they believe is just, what they believe is right, and how they've always been that way, right? They've always had to be that way to survive. We learn so much from black people, right? And I think the really important part of this dish is just to understand that and to appreciate that and to show solidarity in ways that we can, right? And for me, the ways that I can, so I'm making food that. Yo, I realized that one of my scenes doesn't have my mic on. Ah, unfortunate. Good thing I didn't really use that scene. Totally chill though. But yeah, so I was saying that like it's really important that like we pay respects to black people because they paved the way for this, and that they've always kind of shown so much empathy for other people who are marginalized because they've been there, right? And we need to remember their teachings and remember their actions and follow their examples, right? And this dish is something for me that I do, and these dishes that we've been doing for Feast of Resistance is something that I do in order to build solidarity, right? In order to bridge gaps. So I want to taste this to make sure that my shrimp paste flavor is coming through, that it has enough salt. I might add a touch of black pepper, maybe not. I'm feeling a little lazy. I don't want to grind black pepper, to be honest. Ooh, oh, that's yummy. Ooh, yum. Mmm. You know what? I'm like, I like the flavor of that. It's super coconutty, which I love. I want a touch more shrimp paste. I want it a little funkier. I do. I'm gonna stir this shrimp paste in. Hopefully that'll not be too much. I'm always a little scared of using shrimp paste, um, because it's such a strong ingredient. And it really takes a lot to like master how much to use and how to balance the balance the ingredient. So we'll let this cook away. Oh yeah, okay, yep, that's good. That's delicious. All right, I will put a lid on that, and then it'll stew. It's gonna cook down for at least 20 minutes, hopefully 30 minutes. Recent solidarity between Asian and Black um, communities has been positive, and we should all do as much as we can to foster more. Oh, agreed. And there's so much history of solidarity between our groups that we need to acknowledge and continue on, right? But there's also a lot of things that we have to unpack, right, to do that well. I will come back to here so I can see y'all better. And you have to remember that David Fagen grew up in the in the height of the Jim Crow era, right? So David Fagen is someone who like he he was there, right? He lived that whole experience of being free but not free, right? Like, um, and it's both heart wrenching and heartwarming to hear his story, right? Someone, like I said, who really paved the way, and then it's so cool for me to think about David Fagen as someone who was promoted as an enemy or as like a traitor in the United States, right? But lauded as a hero in the Philippines, right? Someone who really fought the good fight and was seen as like a brother, right? As kin within this new community, and it really just goes to show and reinforces that like the color of your skin, the your cultural background, while yes, are convenient ways to find solidarity, they're not the only things that are there, and we have to recognize that and look beyond just that, right? And like really understand people's stories and where they're coming from, and build that empathy, build that solidarity. Um, I don't know if I'm like preaching too much, but I'm sure everyone here, all my viewers get it, but it's something that's really important to me. I find all this work super, super important. And we all do this work differently. Like we all can do this work differently. It's not always about going out to protests. It's not always about sharing like Instagram news or what's the word? Having like a I can't think of the word right now. But the oh shoot! No, it's gonna bug me. This is gonna bug me. Ooh. Oh shoot! What's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Chat, please help me. Help me think of this word. You have to promote Black voices. You have to. It's not promote, but it's along the same lines. Um, Whatever. It doesn't matter. But you have to. It's not just like you can do all of that too, but there's also other ways in which we can show solidarity and just like the ways that we live, right? Whether or not it's just talking to people, to your friends about race, and pointing out and calling out certain things that we do that maybe go without like saying, right? Because it's done subconsciously. Um, Something that happened last night actually was that I had noticed that I called my friends out on was that like we were trying to order food, or they were trying to order food. I guess I was helping them order around here. This happened to me a lot this week when you're just trying to figure out what exactly like someone was trying to what the word was. Dude, it fucking sucks. Yeah, something happened to me this like yesterday even was my friends were ordering food, um, to, but they didn't want to go outside to pick it up, but they're all hungry. We're all like hella drunk. And then the only two black people in the room volunteered to go out to get it, and pick. Let's say they didn't volunteer to pick it up. Um, the dude was saying that he would pick it up. He would pick up his. You'd be down to go out and pick up his, and then we all kind of not. So I say we because we as a collective. I actually didn't get any food, so I probably shouldn't lump myself into this. But a lot of my friends were like, "Oh, like yo, can you grab me my order too when you're there? I don't want to move right now." And I just noted that like, hey, like y'all think it's like y'all think like it's a talking point that like the two black people are the ones that are going out and getting our food for us. Like, how does that make you feel, right? Like even things like that happen to us, having that social that self-awareness goes a long way, right? And there's times like these that happen all the time in our lives, right? And it's really up to us to be self-aware enough to at least address these. And I'm not saying that having your black friends go out and like pick up food for you is racist, right? Because at the end of the day, those are your friends who are going out and getting food for you, right? Or picking up food that you're paying them to you're giving them money to get, right? And like I do that for my friends, regardless of who they are. But it's just something to note, right? Something to think about. right? That just happened, right? And we kind of allowed that to happen without even blinking an eye. We didn't even think about it. But shit like that kind of happens, and then shit like that is always going to be, like slowly internalized, right, by certain people. And that shit's what makes the world kind of like the way it is now, right? Like the continuation of these like small things, the buildup of all these small things, is why we are where we are today, and why we need to change that. I'm gonna check out my dish here, bring it back to the stove cam so y'all can see. Oops, wrong cam. There it is. So this is still too watery. What I'm looking for this to do is that I want the coconut milk to actually like thicken up a bit and really coat the colored beans. I can see this dish being really good with kalaloo too, which is another African. It's actually a Caribbean. I believe it's a Caribbean green, but largely used by Black Caribbeans, or just eaten by Black Caribbeans. I don't know if it originated in the Caribbean, in the islands, or if it was brought over from Africa. Something that I can take a look on, or research some more. My webcam's blurry. Whatever. Whatever. But yeah, David Fagen is a short story, but it's so important. It's so important to remember and pay homage. And like I said, he wasn't the only person who defected. He's become kind of the most well known, perhaps the most highly ranked, and maybe the most helpful or beneficial to the Filipino cause. And maybe the first, right? Maybe the first soldier who did it, but he wasn't the only one. There were. I've read a couple of different places that between 12 or 20 different soldiers who did it, and it's kind of funny to think about. Like the propaganda on both sides is kind of crazy, right? White Americans were scared that all their black soldiers were going to defect to the other side, and so they were like trying to promote like oh my God, like you're American, like don't forget that you're American, you're fighting for our causes, right? Where the Filipinos were like look at what they're doing to you in your own land, right? And like look at what they're doing to us in our land, right? Like we're not the enemy here. We're you. We're you, and the same shit is happening to us that did it to you. And like we need your help to help break that cycle, right? And it's such a metaphorical story to me, right? The idea of breaking a cycle, right? That you have the ability to try at least to break a cycle like this, right? Trauma bond in a way, right? But also understand that your trauma bonding doesn't have to be just that, right? You can use trauma bonding to help break cycles for future generations. Something that I learned is very dear to me when thinking about like my own traumas growing up. We all have traumas growing up, right? And something that I have tried to adopt is just the idea of like I can recognize my traumas. I don't necessarily need to find a way to fix the causes of my traumas because they might not change, right? But what I can do is help end the cycle of trauma, the generational trauma that comes down and gets passed down to my future children, right? And to someone like my little sibling, right? My little sister Sophia. All things that are very important to me. All things that stories like David Fagen's teach me, right? And that's why, again, this food is so important, right? We're talking about this, but all in the context of cooking something really delicious that's gonna feed me, and hopefully feed my friends when the time comes. And hopefully the real big goal is to bring together Filipino and Black communities in one space to eat this dish together, right? And to share in this bonding experience, something that is so familiar to both parties, yet so different to both parties. And that's what we're trying to do here, truly. Alright, you see it's thickening up, the coconut milk is evaporating quite a bit. I'm gonna try one of these greens to see where we're at. Collard greens can cook for a long time. You don't have to cook them for a long time. I like cooking my collard greens for a long time. I like the texture that they get and how much flavor they absorb, but it's not required. So because I'm a little hungry, it's already 8. I will probably eat this once it's if it's good enough to eat right now. Oh, it's so good. Oh man. Alright. I'm gonna microwave some rice. This needs to be eaten with rice, in my opinion. Rice is king in my household. I was not necessarily a noodle person growing up. I was more of a rice person growing up. Not to hate on noodle people. I think noodles are delicious. Noodles are amazing when asked for, or when consent is given. Noodles are amazing. I guess there's a better way to say that, right? When invited, noodles are amazing. Um, when willingly given, I guess, right? It's like really when it's amazing. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm saying, y'all. I'm rambling. My voice is dying. Oh man, I miss karaoke. What will I choose? I love both. Very true. Nudes and rice, both. Honestly, my old one of my old SAT teachers at a Hakwan that I went to for SAT classes in middle school. He would always say that like one of his um like like pro plays or like pro tips was at his local Chinese restaurant. They let him do like combo meals with lo mein instead of like rice. So he would do combo meals with like lo mein and like General Tso's chicken, and then he would cook white rice at home. And so he would just eat noodles and like his General Tso's as both like dishes to eat with his rice, which I think is really funny. Um, Something that I kind of do sometimes too. I do like eating my noodles sometimes. Um, Sorry, I'm getting messages from work now. Um, Totally shy. I have some work I need to do. It's been a crazy busy week for me. I've been working crazy hours to like 3 sometimes, like some days 3 a.m. Um, and it's kind of sucked. It's been really draining. Um, but hey, that sometimes works like that. I'm lucky again, like I said, that um, I don't get overtime, but I do get commissions on my hours, and I enjoy my job. I enjoy my day job. If y'all who don't know, I work as a software consultant by day, and this is kind of my passion project. This is something that I would love to go. Rice and instant ramen. I don't know if I've tried rice and instant ramen. I imagine it's good, right? I imagine it's good because rice with like budejjigae is amazing, and that has ramen in it. So I imagine it not being much different than that. But yeah, um, yeah, I was been working really hard this week, and like I said, I'm fortunate enough that like I enjoy my day job as a consultant. But obviously, I want to do this. Like this is what I want to do with my life. Food. Food is always something that I've wanted to do in my life. I grew up in restaurants. I grew up around food. It's how I understand the world. I've learned so much about the world and being a good human being from food. And some of the things that we're trying to push here as well. But let's get eating because I'm hungry. Oh, you know what I did? I forgot to do again. Fucking take pictures. Did you take pictures? Bar's gonna yell at me. I was gonna even plate this pretty. Take a picture of this. And then I'll take a picture of it and plate it up. I'd use my pretty plates, right? Ooh. of my pretty plates. I like this plate. These are all made by Sean. Why you know Snap Pick? Martin, every time I like think about you yelling at me for like not taking a picture, I just think of like the image of you that has now become a meme in our friend groups, which we also should make an emote at some point because it's a funny picture. Well, like MSG mold. It'd be hella funny. Throw your MSG molds in the chat, and this is Martin. Alright, so I'm gonna plate this dainty plate made by a friend of mine, Annie Wong from Annie's Pottery. Check her out. She is based in New York, and the pottery studio that she works out of is in Chelsea, or near Chelsea, I should say. And she is a great potter, great Asian American potter. Makes all of my custom plates, all my favorite plates have been made by her. And now, pop this a little bit of gochugaru, and also some crispy onions on top. So little red pepper flakes. Pottery is dope. The pottery show, molding. The pottery show on Netflix. I've not seen the pottery show on Netflix. Do not really know what that is. I'm assuming it's about pottery. I'm also assuming that it's probably like a game show or like a reality TV competition show. I'm just topping this off with fried onions too for a little bit of texture. As well as some additional aroma. This is the dish. This is the dish. Wipe. Do a little wipey wipe around the plate. Clean plates. Make a clean chef. Gordon Ramsay won't yell at you in the kitchen and get a clean plate. And then my phone. It's the Great British Baking Show, but for potters. Yeah, I figured it was something like that. All right, Mario. I'm gonna practice some of the things you've taught me, like framing, positioning, lighting. Did I get all those things right? Am I saying things that are actually a part of photography? Make it art. We'll make it art. I gotta use the intersection points, right? Where the eye goes. I feel like there's a shadow. Oh, I heard an alert. Thank you. Yo, thank you, Austin. Thank you, Austin, for the prime. I appreciate that. Also, thank you, Toy Rage, my guy Altai for the follow yesterday, and Rick L's for the follow, as well as strongish goal. Thank you all for the follow. We're doing it here. I'm really excited for what's to come. We have one more dish for y'all for the Feast of Resistance. And that's going to be next Sunday. We're going to do ribs, black bean ribs, to talk about Latasha Harlins and Soon Ja-du during the LA riots. But without further ado, I'm gonna give these a shot and take a nice bite, some rice, and see how it tastes. See how we did. I mean we tried it earlier. Close-up shot. All right, yeah, you're right. I should have done a close-up shot too. That's so good. This is the dish. This is the plate. Oh, I spilled some. Too juicy. Oh, it's good though. Good juice. Just the right amount of sugar paste. What I'm looking for is like, we want sweetness from both the coconut milk and the sugar that we added, right? And we want some spiciness from the peppers. If you added peppers, we just added gochugaru at the end, which will provide that spiciness for us. Um, and then we want like a really intense kind of funky background note, and it's all from the shrimp paste, right? It's like really deep, rich umami that's kind of just like, oh, what exactly is that, right? Like, you don't necessarily taste shrimp, but it doesn't taste like fish sauce. It doesn't taste like other umami rich ingredients. Shrimp paste is really truly very unique, and that's what makes a lot of dishes, the way they are. Mm-mm-mm. Oh. Mm-mm-mm. I need a beer. I've been drinking hella beer lately. Um, Actually, I've been drinking hella White Claws lately, cause claws the law, as the kids say. Though I actually don't have a preference for seltzer, I just enjoy seltzers because they make me less bloated than beer. But here's cheers to y'all. Cheers for y'all for staying here. We can hang out on stream for a bit. I think I might do that while I finish eating. Down to talk about your days, your weeks. Like I said, my week was pretty rough. I actually still have to do some work after I go back. Happy Sunday. Hope y'all are staying like cool because it's fucking hot in New York. It's humid. I am dying. I don't know if you can tell, but full of sweat. All sweat right here. All of it. This light does not help. Yeah, man. I feel like everyone's getting it hit hard. Yawson too. Yawson, you had a harder work week too. We were up together one night just till like three bullshit, not bullshitting, but like doing work, doing bullshit work. Man, this is good though. I'm. Ooh, hot, 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 hot. Vaccinations programmed me to work hard for the man, right? Right? These vaccines are a myth. All they did was brainwash us to work harder. Work harder for no overtime. That's some horse shit. This is horse shit. Oh man, I can't. I didn't even wasn't able to watch any basketball. The playoffs are going on. What a shame. Mm, it's so good. Wow. I make this dish more often. This is really good. Man, oh man. I also like. I didn't add onions originally when I first tested this dish out, but I really like the onions in it. I think they add like a really nice sweetness to it too, and a slightly different texture, and really nice like flavor too. Um, yeah. If you're going to try this dish at home, it's a really really simple dish. Just get your collard greens. You add only a little bit of shrimp paste, enough for you to taste it, but not enough for it to be the only thing that you taste. I know, very hard to decide on your first time, but that's fine. Just make this dish multiple times. It's delicious. Mm. And collard greens are great for you. Collard greens are very good for you. Very hearty green vegetable. Also, you trying to play some Smash tonight? I need a break. I'm down to play some Smash later if you want. If you are strongest goal you made. Oh, no worries, no worries. Strongest goal. We have all our vods up on YouTube. So if you ever want to scrum through some vods on YouTube, you can totally do that. The command exclamation mark YouTube will take you to our YouTube page. But we do post all the VODs there, so you can follow along and learn a little bit about the history of David Fagen. Happy to repeat the history too, if that's what you want. Although I believe probably some of my viewers are, hey, there he is. Some of my viewers are also might have not heard the full story, but I was kind of rambling anyways. But basically, we made a dish for collard greens cooked in coconut milk and shrimp paste, inspired by Laing, a Filipino dish. But we were using collard greens because collard greens is a very important ingredient to Black Americans, and Black cooking. And the reason why we're choosing to do that is because we're talking about the story of David Fagen, a black soldier during the Philippine American Wars who had defected to the Filipino side. This was around 1899, I believe it was. I keep on forgetting. Yeah, 1899. Well, where during the war, so not too long. We've kind of captured. We gone a few different places during our time here, right? We did early, right? The first big wave of immigrants for Chinese immigrants. Although, it is important to note that Filipinos were here long before Chinese people were here. Um, I did say that, Austin. I did say collard greens and coconut milk and shrimp paste. Yes, I did. It's exactly the dish we made. Um, and it is delicious. Collard greens are much easier to find than dried taro leaves, in my experience. Um, Although I'm sure you can find them in Filipino markets. Shrimp paste, get a Filipino brand of shrimp paste, because I think the Filipino brand is the most delicious. But you can also try a Thai brand. I don't like the bricks that much. The bricks for me are much harder to use. I like the paste that come in jars, where this is like an elevated cream spinach. Yeah, yeah. I very much compared laing, the traditional Filipino dish, to cream spinach in texture. But like, if you remember, Martin, if you remember laing when we had it together, right? Texturally, the taro leaves have much more chew to them than spinach does. Right? Spinach kind of just melts, right? But collard greens still have that bite to it. um, but they get tender, they get like soft, right? Which is why I think collard greens work much better for this dish than kale does, which is often a common substitute for laing. But yeah, the yeah. So we're talking. We talked about David Fagen again, like in the 1900s. Before we talked about early 1800s, the Chinese Exclusion Act. We went into the Oxnard Grape Strikes in 19 Oxnard. Sorry, I keep on saying Oxnard Grape Strikes. There's a Delgado Grape Strikes, which is another dish that we'll do in the future. Collard greens are delicious. Yeah, I also love collard greens. They're amazing. But we did we did a beet salad dish for the Oxnard Sugar Beet Strikes of 1903. Now we're doing something for the Filipino War, for the Filipino American War, which took place in 1899 through 1901, I believe. 1902. 1902. So right before those sugar beet strikes, and then we talked about Vincent Chin, which happened not too long ago, right? 1950s or so, 60s, something like that. And then we're gonna do the LA riots, which also was not too long ago. And after that, I hope to do these every now and then, share some really cool, inspired dishes with you all. But I'm also looking forward to streaming twice a week again, just kind of cooking and bullshitting with y'all, and trying new recipes and failing on Twitch. Because there's nothing better. There's no better content than streamers failing on live stream, and their chat laughing at them. At least I think so. I love seeing someone fail, because it shows grit. Because they still do it. They still do it every day. Maybe not every day, but they still go on stream for the most part, even if they fail. It's like the speedrunners. Speedrunners are built different. If we get called out on Twitch fails, we know we've made it. Yo, true. I know the perfect way we can get called out on Twitch fails. Guaranteed. Let's fry duck again. Let's fry Korean rice cakes again and have it explode. That shit would make it. I think that shit would make it there. I think we'd get in there, guaranteed. Right. Quality content. Uh, Hopefully, no bodies or cameras will be harmed in the making of that content, but also not guaranteed. Right? I'm imagining like the people who kind of wear all those suits. This is content you sub for, yo. Word. I imagine like the people who do the deep fried turkeys and wear the hazmat suits. Like that's what I'm thinking of right now. But instead of a fried turkey, it's duck. It's not duck the bird, but duck the DDUK, the Korean rice cake. Oh man, double D duck. That's right. Double D's. All right, this is so good. Oh, I can't wait to finish this. No meat in this at all, and I don't miss it. That's how good this dish is. Right? I know some of y'all don't think a meal is complete without meat, but let me tell you, this dish is delicious. Thanks, Nightbot. That's exactly what we made today. I couldn't have said it better myself. All right, y'all. I want to raid our dear friends over at Lions Share. They're doing the Lions Award right now. And they're a really cool group of Asian Americans who are in the music scene. They're kind of pushing out like new music content and promoting new Asian American artists and old Asian American artists, and just like a really cool group of people in general. Let's see if I got their names correct. I cannot raid this channel. I guess I did not get it correct. Let's take a look. Let's take a look where they're streaming at. It's called it's called Lions Share, not Lion Share. We got another viewer. What's up, 8th viewer? We're just about done here, but we're gonna be raiding. Please stick around so we can raid Lions Share together. Lions Share is a great organization that does that basically produces and amplifies. That was the word. Oh my god, that was the word. Amplifies was the word. So we're gonna raid Lions Share real quick. I remembered. Right? You saw the big brain, the light, the fucking eyes pop out. Where are y'all? Is everyone ready? Is everyone ready to raid? Get your raids in chat ready. And we're gonna raid in 3, 2, 1. Raiding. I don't know if this camera stays on when we raid, but you know, whatever. Let's go, Lions Share. Alright, y'all. Thanks for sticking around, though. If you can still hear me, thanks for sticking around. We'll catch you next time, hopefully next week.